And then also, like, last difference was, like, the bells. Like, during Mass, we just didn't have bells. And so, like, I knew that, you know, when Father holds it up, it rings 3 times. I was ready for that. But, like, the part I wasn't ready for was the part where it rings when Father goes like this. And, like, I'm getting super into the Mass because this is, like, the Holy Spirit, and it's, like, super important. And then all of a sudden, like, there's bells going off in the distance. I'm jumping 10 feet out of my chair. Again, trying to make sure no one's noticing that I'm absolutely failing at Mass. And so it was a lot to adjust to. And so I'm sitting here going, well, I found my place at my own church by getting involved. So maybe I'll get involved and I'll just kind of figure it out. So I signed up to EM and I go to the meeting and, like, surprise, surprise, that's different too. The prayer that you say to people who come up like this, that's different than back home, just FYI. And then, like, I have to finish the blood now that's extra. Like, back home, everyone knew I was underage. So I'd walk back up and they'd, like, grab it away from me. Like, half of them were cops anyway, so they'd grab it away from me and, like, chug it. And then also, like, all of a sudden, people are talking about body snatchers in the middle of this meeting. Do you guys know what a body snatcher is? It's that person who comes up and, like, before you can give them the body, they, like, take it out of your hands. And, like, I didn't know that, so they're sitting there going, watch out for the body snatchers. What kind of parish is this? They are out there. I've found them. Watch out for the body snatchers. Life lesson. So on top of all of the stress of school, like, all of this really just compounded. And it got to the point where I would go back to my dorm after dinner, after Mass, and I would call my parents and I would literally just start crying. Like, especially when they talked about stuff back home, I would just lose it. And I would try and, like, hold it together, and sometimes they didn't notice I was crying, and sometimes they did. But I would just lose it, and I don't cry, so that says a lot. And so basically, I just kind of missed my home. I missed the way we ran things, I missed the people, and really I missed just kind of feeling like I had a place, and I was supposed to be there. And so I went from being the person that people relied on, like, I knew what to do in the special Masses, I could tell you exactly where you needed to stand if we were having a baptism. I trained the other servers and the other EMs, and now all of a sudden I can't feel like I'm doing a good job just by sitting in the congregation, not by doing anything special. And so I was really frustrated, and I felt like I was just kind of missing something. I felt like I was trying to reach for something that I knew should be there, but I couldn't find it, no matter how hard I tried. And it was really hard. I had worked so hard to get to a good place in my faith, and to kind of establish this deep connection and understanding, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I didn't know how to get it back. And so, but luckily for me, I had people to turn to. Like, my dad would always kind of, like, hear me getting upset when I would call, and he would just tell me to give it time. He was that voice in my ear who's telling me to stay open. He would literally say, and this is a direct quote, "You're getting frustrated. You're getting worked up. I can hear you." He's like, "You need to calm down. You need to stay open. Because if you keep going there and you're looking for St. Bridget's, you're not going to find your place here." And, like, don't tell him. But he was right. And knowing that, like, I know he's right there. And, like, I knew he was right. But, I mean, like, I was 18. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I still know what I'm doing. But I knew he was right. And that didn't make it any easier. But luckily I listened. I kept going and going. I learned how to EM, and I started lecturing, which was something I never thought that I was going to do. I never did it back home, and I actually enjoy it a lot now. I went on the fall retreat last year that was here. Shout out if any of you guys were here also. And I met more people than, like, the 2 people that I had known before. And by know, I mean I knew their names. And so I went from being that So I went from being that one person who sits awkwardly, like, at dinner, just, like, waiting for everyone to finish eating so I can go home, to being part of that one group that laughs, like, way too loud at stuff that's really not that funny. And we get kicked out by the people who are trying to, like, do their job and clean up after Mass because they want to go home like a normal person, and we're like, no! I'm part of that group. And so somehow I let myself get talked into going on this, like, weird thing called Awakening in Texas, like, all the way in Lubbock.
Yeah!
Shout out to RA. But, like, no information. You can mute that. And then I let myself get roped into being coordinator of a retreat that we hadn't even started. We're building it from the ground up.
That's my daughter.
And through that, I went to Chicago and Indiana with literally a week's notice, and I got left out on the streets of Chicago for 2 hours while someone was talking up a homeless person. James is the one who left me just that far. I was the one who talked to the homeless person.
Shocker. He was really nice.
If you want the full story, let me know. It's 40 minutes, just have to But slowly, step by step through this, I learned how to recognize the beauty of this community that I was in. I saw the Holy Spirit present within the flow of the Mass, and I found how I fit into it. I learned to understand the symbolism that was entrenched in this structure that was just a little bit different from the symbolism I was used to back home. And I saw how the Holy Spirit moved within and between the members of this community and kept people coming back, and I understood why. And with that understanding, I was able to grow closer than I ever thought possible at the beginning of the year. I let myself commit to this and found myself working to try and actually help others within this community than just kind of trying to stay in my lane. And I managed to actually find other people that seemed to like me for what I contributed to this community and even came to rely on me, which was huge because that's exactly what I was missing. And I managed to do all of this because I stayed open. I didn't shut down or give up after 3 weeks of feeling out of place, of feeling like I didn't belong. And I've gained so much as a result from that. I learned how to reshape my way of thinking and found how the Holy Spirit was working in those around me, and even a bit in how it was working through myself. And that's helped me deepen my relationship with God further than I even thought possible. So I guess the point of this talk, why I'm up here, I don't know, is that by not worrying about what I couldn't do, I managed to discover that I belonged in a strange, new, weird place. And instead of focusing on the absence of what I used to know, I put on my God glasses and I learned to recognize the beauty of what was right in front of me. So, the next time you're feeling lost or alone, or like you're grasping around in the dark, trying to make sense of this crazy thing called life, maybe try looking at it through a different perspective, and maybe you'll find some of the beauty that's underneath all of the chaos. Lights, please. Thank you. Yeah.